has given rise to a whole new generation of war machine, the robotic vehicle.
We know that there are missions that we don't want to be doing.
If you have a robot that can carry as much as 8,000 pounds of gear, that's going to make a big difference.
Wherever they're deployed, they have to be adaptable.
You could resupply troops. Blood, bullets, beans, whatever you need.
Many have the power to strike and destroy their targets.
You could see it, get clearance to shoot and shoot.
But most of all, they have to think for themselves.
Robots are in our army. It's not a fantasy, they're here.
Ultimate Weapons is pulling together what we think are the top technologies in each of 6 categories: sniper rifles, shock and awe systems, close combat weapons, and in this episode, robotic warriors. Now, we want you to tell us which comes out on top.
Ultimate Weapons.
First up at number 10 is a robotic battlefield companion that replaces 4 legs with 6 wheels. It's the Mule. Designed to do the donkey work on the modern battlefield, the Mule is no dumb workhorse.
Well, essentially, it's rocket science on wheels.
The secret to this go-anywhere mobility lies in the 6-wheel design.
Essentially, every wheel has an in-hub motor. It's independently driven. Every wheel arm is capable of independent operation, and those wheel arms are able to move in about a 270-degree arc. The vehicle literally can climb over things. It can flatten itself completely to the ground so that it eases the burden of the soldiers loading it with their gear. It can roll right or left, and therefore on a side slope, it can literally maintain a level chassis as it goes across that side slope. Just extraordinary mobility.
It can also put the suspension at its maximum ride height so it can cross over streams or cross over boulders or stumps that might be in the way, or even perhaps logs and things like that that might have been in place there.
Anywhere they go, anything they go through, the Mule will be able to follow them.
MULE stands for Multifunction, Utility, Logistics, and Equipment, and it's being developed to help soldiers in 3 key areas: transport, fire support, and mine detection. The counter-mine configuration will have the ability to detect, mark, and neutralize anti-tank and anti-personnel mines. The assault version will be fully armed with an integrated weapon system, as well as the reconnaissance and surveillance tools needed to locate and destroy the enemy. And the transport mule will take most of the weight off the soldiers' backs, carrying over 2,000 pounds, more than a ton of equipment and rucksacks.
It's amazing what we expect soldiers to carry and still do their job. He's got his rucksack, he's got his weapon, he's got his ammunition, he's got his water. People don't think about how heavy water is to carry around. He has his food, just that amount of stuff on his back. You're talking 40, 50, some units you're talking over 100 pounds.
Well, the whole idea behind this vehicle is to take the load and the grunt work off the soldier and enable him to do his job better.
The vehicle itself weighs around 2.5 tons, so its payload is almost half its own weight again. That's the entire gear and supply complement for 2 whole squadrons on a 24-hour mission.
It allows him to save that energy from hauling stuff around and use that energy for what we want to do, which is get on the battlefield and fight.
Unlike its 4-legged counterpart, this beast of burden will always go exactly where you want. The Mule can be driven by remote control using a simple hand device, but it can also be programmed to carry out fully autonomous missions using GPS and navigation sensors.
The fact that this is an autonomous vehicle, that's the most critical thing about it. We tell it where to go, and it'll go there.
Once programmed with the correct coordinates, the vehicle operates all by itself, making its own decisions about the best routes to take.
It knows where it is, it knows what it's doing, and it knows what it has to do to try to overcome really complex terrain, go to places where maybe there's not a road there, and it's going to have to perceive the terrain, be able to determine, do I stay on the path? Do I go off the path and go around that tree? Or do I climb over that obstacle? The technology is there to be able to do that.
The Mule scores low on our scale for stealth and firepower, but its comparatively low cost and the promise of future autonomy have the U.S. Army interested. They plan to deploy over 100 of these robotic platforms within the next 10 to 15 years.
I believe robots are the way forward. They are a solution to assist our military in being more lethal, more survivable, and more effective in doing their job.
Proving that size isn't everything, at number 9 in our countdown of unmanned systems is Israel's miniature UAV, called the Skylark.
What makes it really unique is that it has all the feature of a much larger UAV, all really packaged down in a downsized system.
You think it's a toy, but when you see it's a masterpiece of precision.
It comes from the model aircraft as far as the aerodynamics, because it's really simple and efficient.
We bring the information right to the user in the field. They immediately, in real time.
Weighing just over 12 pounds, the air vehicle itself is small enough to carry in a single backpack. Assembly takes just 15 minutes, and launching the Skylark couldn't be simpler.
Takeoff can either be fully autonomous when we do it from a mini launcher, or just throw it by hand, which anybody can do.
Piloting a full-scale UAV requires specialist knowledge and intensive training. Not so with the Skylark.
We need a little bit of a background, knowing how to operate computers, and that's it. We'll send you for 2 weeks training school, by the end of which you're going to be qualified.
Flying this micro UAV is made easy by a unique feature called Fly by Camera.
You don't have to have any flying skills whatsoever. All you have to point at the area you're interested in, and the system ranges itself in a way that it gives you the information continuously. And that gives you the capability to loiter above and to separate between the flight pattern of the air vehicles and your tracking of the area of interest.
With a wingspan of just over 7 feet and a virtually silent electric motor, this micro UAV can get close to the action without being spotted.
The size of the system and the logistic footprint allows us, first of all, to put the system as close as possible to the area of operation, within a couple of kilometers. The electrical propulsion will give you this low signature, and this unique payload will give you the level of details very much like the level of details that you get high up from the Predator.
For the soldier on the ground, having over-the-hill reconnaissance within minutes of launch brings a vital advantage.
Before, they would have to get the information by radio. It's a lengthy procedure because in battle, the situation changes very rapidly. What the UAV saw a moment ago and they transmit it to you may be not what's happening now. Here, the man in the field, they get the information right where they need it immediately. You get full situational awareness.
And when it's time to pack up and go, a simple push of a button is all that's needed to bring the Skylark back to Earth.
The driving is quite exotic, where the air vehicle performs a maneuver which is called deep soar, and then drops down like a leaflet on that, and drops back on the ground, cushioned by a special airbag, very much like the airbag in your car. And that all it takes to just perform recovery. You just hit the button, or it's done automatically.
The Skylark is not autonomous, and it has a flying time of just 90 minutes. But its stealth and ease of operation have made it a clear winner with the Israeli Defense Force. After the break, our top 10 pick of robotic warriors continues with the Protector. And later, the revolutionary X-47B.
It's a story as old as time. A young apprentice challenges the old. That uncover the
Ultimate Weapons has chosen 10 of the world's greatest robotic technologies, in the air, on land, and now at sea. At number 8, clear the decks for the Protector.
Every unmanned system is designed to do 3 Ds. dull missions, dangerous missions, and the dirty missions. And the Protector can do the same.
Protector is ready and capable today of performing tasks without risking sailors and major assets.
This gives us an advantage. This will make the enemy more wary. If he knows this is out there, he may not come out.
Just like its airborne and ground counterparts, the Protector can go right into the danger zone so that human operators don't have to.
On a daily basis, all over the world, there are sailors risking themselves in order to protect restricted waters, shore assets. And we said, hey, we can do this with an unmanned system.
It can take missions that are very dangerous, getting near a target ship. It can perform long patrols in sea conditions that are not very comfortable to humans. And it can do it in environments which are very dangerous to people, either high sea or in contaminated areas.
This could even go in and do sonar, mine searching, searching for diesel submarines that are bottomed. If this alerts to something, then you can call on your armed helicopter or your carrier air. Your fixed wing can come in there and take something out. But this is an advanced warning system.
In common with many unmanned systems, the Protector carries a variety of cameras and sensors housed in a single complex unit.
We have the top light, electro-optical director. It has a day camera. It has a thermal imaging system for night vision. It has a laser rangefinder, and it's very highly stabilized. You can come close to the target with something that you might not want to do when you have people on board. You can zero in, even identify an ID. Someone holding up an ID, you could identify it.
The Protector platform is so stable, even in rough seas, it can be used for more than just surveillance.
It can have either lethal weapons, non-lethal weapons, or other devices that can do a mission. If the target is still considered a threat, it can also open fire with a machine gun on board.
When you're in the operations area, this could be, again, an advanced tactical system to defeat any swarm attack by gunboats or enemy vessels.
Past experience in previous conflicts has shown how valuable an armed and unmanned gunboat could be.
Going in Vietnam in the rivers, one of the most dangerous parts was the approach to the insertion point, because you didn't know whether there was a bad guy there with a .30 caliber. So that entry, that insertion, is a critical portion of an operation.
The designers at Israel's Rafael created the Protector to carry out as wide a range of duties as possible with a minimum changeover time.
The Protector is built with modular design, so it can carry different payloads.
It means that you can take out one mission module and put in another mission module very quickly and very easily.
Most common is called Mini Typhoon, which is a small remotely operated weapon station, carries sensors, carries a weapon like a machine gun. It can also carry other devices like a loudspeaker or a microphone or signaling devices and so forth.
The Mini Typhoon puts the Protector firmly among the most lethal unmanned platforms available. Other modules are currently in development, which will also make it highly versatile.
We're looking into enhancing our capabilities by adding other mission modules, such as mine detection, such as submarine warfare, thinking of putting electronic warfare capabilities on the Protector, non-lethal weapons. We're also looking into civilian applications, such as environmental monitoring, firefighting capabilities.
So it can actually carry different types of missions, flexible missions with very high rate of success.
The Protector can remain on station for around 8 hours at a time. But our next choice at number 7 boasts an endurance of no less than 6 times that. Taking the technology of unmanned aircraft to new heights, the Global Hawk is literally on top of the world.
It provides unprecedented capability to fly an air vehicle that can cover in a single mission the entire United States.
It gives them an unblinking view of the battle space.
It's a level of quality that has not been seen in any weapon system to date.
Global Hawk is as big as it is because that's how big the planet is.
Global Hawk's unrivaled combination of altitude, speed, and endurance provides a unique window on the world below.
It can fly for in excess of 30 hours. So you couple the speed and endurance of the Global Hawk platform with advanced sensors, provides a tremendous amount of capability to the warfighter.
It's kind of like a bank surveillance video. You would never place a surveillance system at a bank that would only take pictures 5 minutes out of every hour. You'd want constant surveillance to see what's going to happen in that bank if a bank robber were to come in. Same thing on a battle space. I want to be able to predict what's going to happen on a battle space to get to a position to see what may happen.
A single Global Hawk can travel 125,000 nautical miles and survey an area of 40,000 square miles in a single day. This is only possible because of its operational altitude of 60,000 feet.
The speed and the altitude of the air vehicle is quite impressive. The aircraft will operate in excess of 300 knots. It can fly at altitudes up to 11 miles above the Earth's surface. And then to do that and have an endurance of 30 hours, so it's a very efficient use of an airframe.
Since Global Hawk is purely a surveillance aircraft, it doesn't carry any firepower. Its best defense against attack is to stay at a height where it's out of harm's way.
Altitude provides me some protection. Obviously, it doesn't provide me all protection. You might have a hostile fighter that may want to come and take you out, so to speak. If I know he's coming at me, I have plenty of time to maneuver and leave the area.
The bulge on top of the aircraft houses the 48-inch wideband satellite dish, giving Global Hawk its distinctive shape.
The KU satellite dish on the top of the aircraft can perform 50 megabits per second of data download, and the common data link is up to 250 megabits per second, and that is a line-of-sight link to users right in the field. So basically the aircraft is a huge pipe for imagery, both for the analyst and for the operator out there that needs the information in near real time.
In combat, the Global Hawk can identify and track a moving target's exact location. If necessary, an armed system, such as a jet fighter, can use this data for a precision attack.
The way the radar works is it provides extremely accurate geographic coordinates. Those are instantaneous on the imagery that comes down. When you have that accuracy, I can shrink my weapon to make the effect that I want to make. I reduce collateral damage, I get very precise, and I affect the behavior of just the person or persons I want to.
The sensors can see at night and through extreme weather or even dust storm conditions, an ability with many civilian applications.
During the hurricane season, we were asked to go and surveil in the Gulf Coast area, depicting the damage, any damage created by the hurricane. Even before the clouds had cleared, you were able to burn through the weather with the radar sensor and get a nice image of the ground in order to see damage to levees or dikes or any of the other infrastructure on the ground.
The cost of Global Hawk puts it out of reach for all but the most well-funded armies. But with that cost comes amazing endurance, stealth, and a wide array of sophisticated sensor technologies, making it perfect for the U.S. Navy's BAMS project.
BAMS is the Broad Area Maritime Surveillance Unmanned Aircraft System. We're going to build on the nation's investment in the Air Force Global Hawk program to make the aircraft better with improved maritime sensors.
Still to come, Ultimate Weapons presents military robots as small and discreet as this.
Instead of moving in and risking your soldiers, you can risk a Viper.
And as massive and intelligent as this.
That actually was a computer doing that, not planned at all.
Has put together what we think are the very best robotic technologies, including a new breed of micro-robots, versatile, intelligent, and portable. At number 6, it's the Viper.
Viper is very valuable. It's an indispensable asset. Instead of moving in and risking your soldiers, you can risk a Viper.
Standing just 9 inches tall and weighing just 25 pounds, the Viper can be carried in a backpack. And this little robotic spy can go just about anywhere a soldier can.
We'll send the Viper ahead of the troops to scout the target. It is able to climb steps, go to a higher floor, overcome a barricade or other obstacles, penetrate into a building and see what's inside.
The key to the Viper's amazing mobility is the Galileo wheel, which at the push of a button can transform from wheel to track in seconds.
Now you see it on the configuration of a wheel, which gives it the ability to go relatively fast from one place to another, also to save energy, which is a major issue. But on the other hand, when you want to climb stairs or when you want it to perform missions in a complicated terrain, then you switch it to the track mode. And with that, it has all the advantage of a track.
Once in position, a sophisticated surveillance package mounted on top of the Viper allows the soldier to see what it sees.
It has the ability to send all the information that is gathered by the camera to any member on the net.
And with microphones on board, the Viper becomes the soldier's ears as well as his eyes, so there's no question about the intentions of those being watched. The Viper can work at more than half a mile away from the operator, and it can even be called home at the push of a button, automatically finding its own way back to the starting point.
If something happens to that, and if you lose control, you lose communication, which might happen, then it has an automatic mode. It knows its way back.
One obvious application will be to help combat one of the ground troops' deadliest enemies, the improvised explosive device, or IED.
It can also carry explosive sniffer to detect possible booby traps or IEDs.
The ability to sniff out explosives and other dangerous materials could also be good news for man's four-legged best friend.
The Viper is going to be very, very important to the soldier in the field. Right now it does what combat dogs are doing in many armies today. The Viper is taking the same missions and it will assume more and more missions as more capabilities will be added.
Although vulnerable to attack, tests are currently being carried out to add weapons to the Viper platform, something our number 5 robotic system is more than ready for. Doing everything a helicopter can do, but without the need for a pilot, this vertical takeoff and landing aircraft is the Fire Scout.
The aircraft doesn't care if it's snowing, if it's raining, whatever. You give it a spot to land, it's going to land there.
Just like their piloted counterparts, unmanned helicopters have a huge advantage over fixed-wing aircraft. They can take off and land just about anywhere, and Fire Scout can even do it without any human assistance.
Just the click of a mouse, take off, and it's off and on its way. It'll fly that flight plan or that mission plan, and it'll come back to where you told it to land without anyone ever touching that aircraft again.
The air vehicle actually, with about 3 mouse clicks, can complete an entire 8-hour mission.
The aircraft is solid as a rock. The computer system will fly the aircraft exactly where it is programmed to go.
The platform itself is based on the combat-proven Schweitzer 330 series light turbine helicopter.
It's a very, very reliable machine, so taking that reliability and putting it into what you see here today was a challenge, but it also gave us a good baseline to go from.
It's kind of a mix of new and old technology. We wanted to use a very inexpensive, easy to operate, easy to maintain air vehicle, but we're filling it with high-priced, cutting-edge electronics in order to make it execute its mission.
But Fire Scout is a lot more than just a surveillance system. It's versatile enough to carry out a huge variety of missions.
You could resupply troops. Blood, bullets, beans, whatever you need, medical supplies. In the darkest of nights, aircraft will land there, troops can get the supplies and go back. In the end game, you could probably even medevac folks out.
And Fire Scout can even be equipped to pack a deadly punch.
We also have weaponization. We've shot rockets, and we know that the services are looking at more precision weapons. So there's a wide range of payloads that can go on the aircraft.
The weapons that we're looking at for Fire Scout are a forward-firing rocket, potentially IR or image-guided. The other one is a gravity drop bomb Viper Strike, currently being used by the Army right now. Both of those are guided weapons.
Okay, AVO, be advised, you're clear to arm and fire.
Fire Scout's ability to navigate by a variety of sensors means it can carry out whole missions in zero visibility conditions.
We don't need to be able to see our touchdown point, or we don't need to be able to see the horizon to safely fly Fire Scout. There is no pilot, so it allows us to fly in clouds at night, or potentially a dust storm or something along those lines.
The sheer versatility of the Fire Scout system makes it one of the military's most sought-after propositions.
We're looking in the future at various customers. As I said, the Navy is signed up for their Littoral Combat Ship.
Now the Army is also interested. They've purchased 8 air vehicles.
I know the Marine Corps is looking for a vertical unmanned aerial vehicle that we'll compete for. And then there are several international customers that have expressed interest.
And the Coast Guard is making an assessment of Fire Scout in support of its new Coast Guard cutter, Bertolf.
In fact, the Fire Scout has such an advanced ability to take off, land, and operate all by itself, some human pilots are actually starting to get jealous.
I'm a helicopter pilot myself, and there's a little bit of, you know, I'm special, you need a pilot to be able to do this. So there's a little bit of a manhood issue with some of the pilots.
I'm a retired Navy helicopter pilot, and the first time I saw a Fire Scout fly, I have to tell you I was jealous.
But we know that there are missions that we don't want to be doing. Flying low, slow, over enemy territory, long duration flights. And this is a natural progression. I think in 5 to 6 years, with the addition of weapons, our radar system, that Fire Scout will be an ultimate weapon.
Wherever a threat exists, unmanned vehicles can tackle the danger without putting a human operator at risk. And in the oceans, one of the greatest and oldest threats lurks deep beneath the surface.
In war at sea, over the last few decades, the mine has actually been the most effective weapon. Warships have been lost to the mine than anything else, and highly sophisticated warships taken out by this relatively unsophisticated technology that, you know, dates back more than 100 years.
Mines can lie silently in wait for months or even years, and disarming them manually is extremely dangerous.
The mine threat's been around a very long time, and the traditional way of dealing with a mine on the seabed is either to use a remotely operated vehicle with a big bomb, or to put a diver into the water to go up to it and maybe even feel the mine, touch the mine, and then place a disposal charge against it.
You're hunting for explosives in murky water, and of course you may be doing this in a hostile environment. That is, you may be doing demining operations, but also you've got someone shooting at you at the same time.
It's the perfect job for an unmanned system, like our number 4 choice, the Talisman Robotic Mini Submarine. Equally at home in shallow waters or at depths of up to 300 meters, the Talisman is the first of its kind.
The Talisman, as a UUV, is absolutely unique. It's the only system that carries not only the detection sensors, but the weapons to destroy a mine in the same mission. Its primary function is to identify, classify, and then uniquely to dispose of that mine. Once you've identified a mine and confirmed it's a mine, you hold station with Talisman. The operator launches the weapon, the Archfish weapon, guides it to the target, no more than 5 to 10 minutes, and bang, goodbye target. It means the ship is a long way back. It means the man is a long way back. So you're using the remote technology to go and do the dirty work.
Everything from the innovative hull design to the fully autonomous control software went from drawing board to first sea trials in record time.
Talisman was designed in 7.5 months. This is almost unique for a military program.
Like many of the most successful unmanned systems, the Talisman is already evolving beyond its original intended purpose.
Basically envision it as a miniature submarine, and all the things that a miniature submarine could do, it could do just without sending humans into harm's way. So it can be used for surveillance.
Go into an area of interest underwater, hop up to the surface, operate the sensors, collect all the information, dive again, and disappear without anyone even knowing you've been there.
You could even potentially arm it to take out not just merely stationary mines, but maybe another ship. You send it into an enemy harbor, drop a couple mini torpedoes, boom, you take it out without having to risk your own people.
The Talisman unmanned submarine can work at depths of almost 1,000 feet below the surface, making it supremely stealthy. It's fully autonomous and highly adaptable, making it an ultimate weapons favorite.
This is the way forward. This is the vision of the future. where we take the man out of the minefield, we no longer put a diver into the water, and we do it all remotely with unmanned autonomous technology.
Unmanned vehicles have come a long way in just over a decade, and their evolution owes a lot to our next system. At number 3, it's the original of the species. With more than 14 years of active service, this is the Predator.
It flies over 30 hours, goes over 50,000 feet.
You lose your link with the airplane, it will automatically come home.
It can see without being seen.
The radar can penetrate through clouds, can see at night. If you don't know it's there, if somebody didn't tell you it was there, you won't see it.
And in 2001, it became the first UAV to successfully deploy weapons.
Once the Predator had missiles on it, then a lot less targets got away.
The enemy doesn't know when the next shot is coming. They don't even know when the first shot is coming.
Once you're on our screen, you're not going anywhere.
So it's deadly accurate.
When the Predator unmanned aerial vehicle first took off in 1994, it heralded a new generation of military hardware. Controlled by radio or satellite link, the aircraft can be on the other side of the world while the pilot stays safely on the ground. But the skills required to fly it are essentially the same.
You need to be a pilot so you can talk on the radio, you know what your approach is, you can tell people where you're at, because you're really an airplane. So it's just like a cockpit on the ground, and you need to have that pilot mentality so you don't, get into the wrong airspace or understand how important it is where you are with respect to other aircraft.
The gimbal, mounted underneath the airframe, houses the Predator's all-important sensor payload.
The radar is all-weather, can penetrate through clouds, can see at night. It sees broad area, long distances, and we use that for detection and location of potential targets or surveillance. It does coherent change detection. You can fly over an area, come back the next day, maybe where drug runners are running through, fly that area again, and it'll overlay the two images and tell you if there's footprints on the ground.
You can say, hey, you know what, this is a new thing of interest. Let's key point on this, and let's keep our focus, our attention on this spot.
It's streaming video. It's watching live TV, and that information is available from takeoff to land.
And it's not just the ground crew who can receive the Predator's images.
It can be on the President's desk or the Secretary of Defense's desk on a TV screen. It can be delivered to a small little television receiver to a special ops guy riding a horse through Afghanistan.
The first version to take to the sky was called the Predator A. Still in use today, it operates at a lower altitude than later models.
You could read somebody's license plate from 15,000 feet, so you don't need to be any lower. You're away from most ground threats when you're up at that altitude.
This spy in the sky soon proved its worth when it was first deployed in the Balkan states, Iraq, and Afghanistan in the mid-1990s.
The Predator actually could zoom in from about 6 to 8 miles away from certain high-value targets. And you could identify the vehicles that they were in and also what type of building they had gone into.
But it soon became clear that just identifying the target wasn't enough.
What they would do before the Predator had the missiles on it, when they would locate targets and then they have to wait for a manned airplane to come in and shoot the target.
Sometimes there was a delay in getting aircraft to the area. The Air Force decided they want to push forward for a weaponized Predator, and within a very short period of time, about a 6-week period of time, they were able to integrate the Hellfire missile on board the Predator A, which gave it that almost 100-killer capability.
Once the Predator had missiles on it, then a lot less targets got away. You could see it, get clearance to shoot and shoot.
This success paved the way for the larger, fully weaponized Predator B, which flies at even greater altitudes, increasing its stealth capabilities.
Well, it's not a stealth aircraft per se, but obviously, like Predator A operating at 15 to 20,000 foot altitude, very hard to see. I mean, if you don't know it's there, if somebody didn't tell you it was there, you won't see it. Predator B, its best cruise area is above 30,000 feet. You don't see it either.
It flies over 30 hours, goes over 50,000 feet, and will carry 3,000 pounds of weapons. So it's got a lot going for it.
And once a Predator B gets you in its sights, there's no place to hide.
The turret that houses the cameras also houses a laser designator. So they put that spot on the ground where they want to drop the bomb or to shoot the missile, and they just line all that up and pickle the bomb, and it goes. It's deadly accurate.
It is obviously a very important asset to the military. Some operations just don't happen unless Predator's flying above them.
The Predator is one of the most combat-proven robotic platforms there is, and the addition of Hellfire missiles also makes it one of the deadliest. After the break, we reveal our ultimate unmanned system. Is it the futuristic X-47B or the mighty Crusher? Find out next.
Rush Alaska.
Robotic warriors. We think these last two come closest to achieving the holy grail of all robotic vehicles, keeping flesh and bone from ever having to go in harm's way. For sheer brute strength, nothing can match our number 2 choice, the Crusher.
The Crusher can negotiate very difficult terrain and can do so by itself without any human involvement.
They can figure out how to get from point A to B, and they can also figure out how to get there so that they minimize the chance of being seen.
No other vehicle has the kind of ability that Crusher has.
If you have a robot that can carry as much as 8,000 pounds of gear, that's going to make a big difference.
Weighing in at 6.5 tons, the Crusher can also carry up to 4 tons of payload, so you don't want to get in its way.
The name The Crusher came from a video we did years ago showing the vehicle driving over cars and smashing them.
As the vehicle goes through different kinds of rough terrain, sometimes by plan, sometimes not by plan, it can survive.
It plans a path and it attempts to drive that path. But when it encounters an obstacle, then it plans an alternative route.
This is an Army system, and mission completion is the goal.
While the smaller Mule is designed primarily to work alongside soldiers, the Crusher likes to work alone. Highly autonomous, it can tackle almost any mission imaginable.
Everyone has their own idea of what you can do.
Crusher can go places where it's too dangerous to put a manned vehicle. Crusher can go places where there might be radiation, biological contamination, or chemical contamination.
If you start at the simple end, it's resupply. Maybe you need to haul fuel, ammunition, bring injured people back from the front line.
Crusher can go on missions that might be too boring for a person to go.
It is possible for Crusher to be used for a scouting mission where it is sent out ahead of the troops.
It could be miles in front, days in front, weeks in front, and it's your eyes and ears.
Might have to climb a ridge and stay there for a week and wait for something to happen.
So it's sitting there, it's using its fuel very slowly. It's maybe moving rarely, and it's moving in a very covert manner.
And Crusher doesn't have to be fed. It can just sit there and wait until something important happens.
It can be fitted with weapons, so you're going to have a robot which could, in theory, be able to go around the corner, find an enemy, and destroy that enemy without putting any soldiers at risk.
To help it achieve all these objectives, the Crusher has to be stealthy.
The vehicles are hybrid electric, so they can run with engine off. They can sit and watch quietly for a long, long time. And in fact, I think one of the biggest uses for one of these vehicles is simply reconnaissance. Just go and look quietly.
It also has to be extremely tough.
We've made these vehicles very resilient. We have a skid plate underneath that's suspended by rubber. We put an energy-absorbing front bumper on it. We have tires that can absorb a lot of energy. So the whole name of the game for us is absorb that impact energy.
But most of all, the Crusher has to be smart.
It is equipped with sensors that are able to measure the shape of the terrain in front of the vehicle. It takes this data and sends it to computers, which interpret it and decide which parts of the terrain are safe and which parts of the terrain are dangerous.
The Crusher has endurance, weapons capability, stealth, and reliability. But most of all, it has an artificial intelligence that other robot systems can only dream of. It's so smart, it's even starting to surprise its designers.
It's doing things in off-road terrain that start to get human-like. You see it pull up to a ditch. and pause for a couple seconds. You see it back up, drive around a tree, and go around up a hillside. And you scratch your head and you say, wow, that actually was a computer doing that, not planned at all, just working through its algorithm. That, to me, is where it gets to be really neat, when you start to see human-like decision-making happening.
We've almost finished our rundown of the top 10 robotic weapons. And for the ultimate winner among unmanned military machines, we have to return to the skies. Meet the X-47B, the technological dream machine that is the future of U.S. Navy unmanned aviation.
We're talking about a new way of doing business. It allows so much more capability.
This thing does not get bored, it does not get tired, and it excels at the mundane.
Currently a demonstration model, the X-47B has been designed for use aboard Nimitz-class aircraft carriers. Its tailless batwing shape will make it the stealthiest unmanned system ever to take to the skies. Unveiled at the end of 2008, it will carry out surveillance and strike missions, all autonomously and at long range.
Something that the Navy needs. It's a long-range strike capability. Not only does it give you an overnight picture for the battle group, it also can reach out 3,000 nautical miles, stay 50 hours with refueling, and give not only a picture, but can do strikes too for time-sensitive targeting.
As an unmanned aircraft, obviously, there's no pilot on board to grow hungry or tired. And with the ability to refuel in midair, the X-47B has an unrivaled endurance.
Once you enable an unmanned airplane to be refueled, what's the next limit? If it can get as much gas as it needs, it's never going to get tired. Let's say a fighter can do 5-10 hours. This thing's doing 50 hours. She's staying in an area, she's keeping situational awareness throughout a battle area, and that's something that's unique.
For too many times, we have been able to go into a battle, influence it for a short period of time as an Air Force, and then withdraw to rearm and re-equip. With this airplane, it will be with the warfighter 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Initially, the X-47B will be used as a spy in the sky, but should the need arise, it will be more than capable of carrying out strike missions.
The first missions we're looking at right now are the intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, but this thing has bays sized for 4,500 pounds internal payload.
If the futuristic shape seems familiar, that's because it's an evolution of the B-2 stealth bomber.
B-2 is a flying wing, basic Jack Northrop design variant. The X-47B really grew from that. We learned a lot about flying wing technology and the characteristics of that type of airfoil. And we've managed to translate that and to be able to get the best as far as range and payload for a carrier-type airplane. Basically, we've taken the aerodynamic characteristics of the B-2, we've taken a lot of what we learned on flight controls and transferred it into the X-47B.
Landing on an aircraft carrier is difficult enough when you have a tail to help stabilize your plane. For the X-47B, hitting just the right landing spot at the right time presents an even greater challenge.
United States Air Force lands on something 300 feet wide, 2 miles long, and it doesn't move. Now you're taking 4 acres, and you're taking something that travels about 150 miles an hour, and you have to hit it with pinpoint accuracy.
You're pointing a 50,000-pound beast at a national asset, so you have to be sure of the way that you're going to go land.
The X-47B's ability to land autonomously on such a small area with equal precision every time, regardless of the conditions, is just one of the reasons it's our ultimate unmanned vehicle.
The challenges are not really insurmountable. It is that the airplane picks up a millimeter wave at about 6 nautical miles and starts riding that down. To the computer running at 100 hertz loops, it's like watching an hour hand run. It sees all the wind changes, sees all the movement of the carrier. It doesn't matter how dark the night is, what the winds are, how bad the weather, the computer's unafraid, knows where the carrier is, knows the millimeter wave it should be on, knows how to do the landing.
X-47B gets Ultimate Weapons vote for the #1 unmanned weapon of choice, the ultimate combination of endurance, lethality, and stealth.